Hello and welcome to another episode of Insider Focus, and today we're going to be talking all things West Ham United. It's been a big couple of days for the Hammers. We're going to have a look at what is going on at the London Stadium. Before we do that, please make sure you hit like and subscribe, really helps us out. And as the window rolls on, we'll be here with updates for multiple clubs, obviously, as we cover a lot of clubs on this channel. So make sure you hit like and subscribe. Let's begin then with West Ham. Let's talk about the story which is pressing at this point in time. We'll talk about a number of targets, but we'll start with James Ward-Prowse exclusively put out yesterday. A £20 million bid was rejected by Southampton for their captain from the Hammers. We know West Ham are keen on Ward-Prowse. My understanding is talks are still ongoing. Deal is not dead. Around the £40 million mark is probably where Southampton are wanting to land at this point in time. It's understood that West Ham have the ability maybe to get to about that 35 and things can maybe start moving. I expect the next bid to be around 30 plus. So they'll probably hit around that mark next for the next offer for James Ward-Prowse, a player they would really like to bring into the London Stadium, a player that's got all the hallmarks of a good signing for West Ham. That set-piece ability obviously is a key part of his game, but they are looking to add a number of players in midfield. He's also 28 years old, so he's a bit older, but he's also captain of his club. He's a highly experienced Premier League player, exactly what West Ham are needing in the middle of the park, especially after losing Declan Rice to Arsenal in that £105 million deal. Now, of course, Southampton have recently come out, haven't they, and said, we don't have to sell. But of course, there is an understanding that they have been relegated and James Ward-Prowse would like to go back to the Premier League at this point in time. West Ham do believe the player is keen to join them at the London Stadium. So that is one that could move in the next couple of days. Again, West Ham are preparing a second bid and are likely to make that bid imminently. So keep your eyes out for that, West Ham fans. The James Ward-Prowse saga and negotiations, they are not over. They will rumble on and continue. Conor Gallagher was another one. They had an early conversation with Chelsea to understand the possibility of signing Conor Gallagher this summer. My understanding is at this point in time, that is a hard deal to do. The reason being, Mauricio Pochettino is happy to keep Conor Gallagher at the club. Chelsea have also been trying to get Moises Caicedo in the door. That has been proving very difficult at this point in time. Now, of course, things could change, but the likelihood of a deal with Brighton is looking more and more difficult. 4 bids rejected by Brighton for Caicedo, 60, 70 and 80 million pounds and 75 million pound, around those marks were the bids, which means Chelsea have low numbers in the middle of the park, making Gallagher's stay more needed. Therefore, West Ham are unlikely to be able to shift him at this point in time. Unless Chelsea maybe bring in 2 more in that centre of the park, which they are looking to do, then it looks like Gallagher is set to stay at Stamford Bridge, meaning West Ham have got to direct their attention and focus elsewhere. I'd also keep an eye on Scott McTominay in this, because Scott McTominay is a player who Manchester United would be keen to sell, especially Ambrabat, who could come in from Fiorentina. That would push that even further. Man United currently working on a deal for Rasmus Hojlund, as we all know. Everyone is aware of that at this point in time. Hojlund wants to go to Manchester United. They're working against PSG at this point in time to try and sign him. And after that, they'll switch focus to Sofiane Amrabat at Fiorentina. He would come in, and that makes the likelihood of Fred and Scott McTominay leaving the club higher, because they brought in Casemiro, didn't they, last season, among others. So Manchester United looking to shift him. West Ham have had a long-term interest in Scott McTominay. David Moyes likes him a lot, but of course he has got a price point on his head on about £40 million. That's a high amount. That would mean West Ham would be spending potentially £80 million for James Ward-Prowse and Scott McTominay, for example, if they were to get those 2 in. That's quite a large outlay for the Hammers at this point in time. So perhaps there is another option on the table if McTominay isn't doable. However, I think there's more flexibility in Scott McTominay's price point at this point in time. I think Manchester United would be happy to let him go, and if West Ham are able to match something that maybe is more desirable around that £30-35 million mark, a bit like the Ward-Prowse number, then you could probably see Scott McTominay leave Manchester United. West Ham like him a lot, like I said. So that is one that will likely move towards the end of the window. Let's move into defence. Lewis Hall. I want to talk about Lewis Hall at Chelsea. Liked by Newcastle, everyone knows this, and that will also prove a problem for other clubs who might want to come in. Newcastle, a very attractive option for players at this point in time. My understanding is that he has also been looked at by a number of clubs, including West Ham. Now, I'm not saying West Ham are in for him at this point in time, just a player that they have looked at. Now, he would be available on a loan, is my understanding, and Chelsea open to a sell, not as open as to a loan, maybe an option to buy, but it might be selling him with a buyback clause as well. Are West Ham going to buy a player that Chelsea could buy back? I'm unsure at this point in time if they'll be willing to do that. We shall wait and see. We've seen Southampton and others do it with Manchester City, I know, but Newcastle themselves are unlikely to want to do that for Lewis Hall as well. So that could be a loan option as well, potentially. Lewis Hall, a very, very, very talented player. He's played in defence. He's actually had a wee stint in midfield as well. So a lot has happened with Lewis Hall. He could potentially move this summer, open to a loan. It would Chelsea want a Premier League move for him as well, so keep an eye out for him. Not just West Ham and Newcastle, but a number of other clubs as well. So that is one that could potentially move in the coming weeks also. So that's another option there as well. We know West Ham want a striker. Number of names floated. Obviously, Scamacca came in, didn't he? He didn't quite hit the ground running. He's been all right for West Ham, but there is still a lot of interest in him. I expect him to stay this summer, but there's still a lot of interest in him from Italy. They would like to bring him back. A number of clubs keeping an eye on his situation. We do know a number of clubs have approached him at this point in time as well to understand if he would be keen to leave London. Mikel Antonio is another one who could be leaving. Antonio wanted by Al Ettifaq, Steven Gerrard's side in Saudi Arabia. Keep an eye on that. For those of you who didn't see my video on how Saudi Arabia are working, they're working in tier systems, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Currently, they're coming to the end of the tier 1 and phasing into tier 2. Tier 1 being your Benzemas, your Riyad Mahrezes, your N'Golo Kantes. Tier 2 players maybe below that who are playing at a high level, like Antonio in the Premier League, who have European experience, like Antonio, the Europa Conference League, obviously, and could come in and help build the strength of the squads. And that is where they're moving into now. And this is where you see the next couple of weeks players like Antonio being bid for properly. We'll see things become more official for players like him, and that is where the Saudi League are at. So keep an eye on Al Ettifaq. Steven Gerrard building something there. They obviously bought Jordan Henderson yesterday, which comes with its own set of controversy and discussion, and an LGBTQ ambassador, and he's moved to Saudi. That certainly gives him a question to answer. But focusing on West Ham, that will mean a striker situation is needed to be addressed. Someone to put the ball in the back of the net. And I think at this time, predominantly West Ham are focusing on the centre of the park, like I said, with James Ward-Prowse, who I said before I think will be a fantastic signing for West Ham United. David Moyes said to stay for another season. That was never in doubt that David Moyes would stay for another season. He was always going to. As myself, I've been reporting, West Ham have always said that the case is that he was not going anywhere. That has proved true. He's obviously won the Europa Conference League with West Ham last season, and now they're in the Europa League proper too. So that is an exciting prospect for West Ham fans, because you hit the semi-final of that previously, and you've got an opportunity to go one step further at least this season, which means you are going to strengthen. Scott McTominay, I have to really keep an eye on. I could see something moving on that quite quickly. Again, it'll be Amrabat and then McTominay maybe getting an option there. West Ham will face competition for his signature. It's not just in England, it is round Europe too. Like I said with Conor Gallagher, time now running out maybe for something to happen there, especially with how Chelsea's negotiations are going. Pochettino happy to work with him. He offers energy and legs. Spurs very keen on Gallagher as well, but at this point in time, the likelihood of him leaving Chelsea remains low. And keep an eye out on Lewis Hall at Chelsea also, a player that has got eyes on, and West Ham like him. But again, it's very, very, very early with that as well. What are we interested in, West Ham fans? Is what are your expectations for this season? Who do you want to bring in? Is there anyone you'd like me to look at and check out for you? Because these are always things that I'm interested in. I'm interested in chatting to you guys and hearing your comments below. West Ham obviously had a poor season in the Premier League, but an amazing season in Europe last year. West Ham fans, I presume you would take, but would you take a Europa League trophy or a European trophy for another relegation scrap, or do you want your club to be doing better in the league? And that is, of course, the aim for West Ham United this season. Talks will continue for James Ward-Prowse. Like I said, keep an eye out for this over the next week. I'll be reporting everything on my Twitter. You can find my link in the description. Football Insider links all in the description, all clickable links. Just click the link and you will find us. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheerio.